sugar rush is not real. I think you're also just seeing whoever's mojo is just kind of locked into the right rhythm.
Hello, fans of racing and entertainment. Welcome to another exciting live broadcast. I am Steve Stillman, and I will be your host for today. We are here in beautiful Stavelot, Belgium, at the Circuit of Spa Francorchamps. Nestled in the tree-rich rolling hills is a nearly 100-year-old track. It's been modified over the years for safety reasons, and it's ready for today's cars to be pounding their way around. The weather here is cool and dry this weekend, making for excellent cooling for the cars, but brings a lot of static electricity to me in the booth here. Introducing our broadcast team for today. From the pit area is Sarah Peterman. Our technical director and instigator of my nightmares is Richard Payne, producer Ian Gill, and my co-host Jan Thornton, who's been here all weekend, is strangely absent today. At the last minute, in place of Jan, our producer was able to find in the stands a replacement who's an iconic Jeopardy champion, father, author, and he's a podcaster. With 74 consecutive Jeopardy wins, here is Mr. Ken Jennings. Welcome to the commentary booth, Ken.
No, that's very flattering. Thank you.
So how long have you been a fan of racing?
15 years.
Wow, you may be one of the better guest analysts that we've ever had.
It's a very unusual niche I have found, and I feel incredibly lucky to have landed in it.
Great to have you here. I just wish my regular race analyst would be here regularly once in a while. You are the Jeopardy greatest of all time, according to your wins against the titans of Jeopardy. Why did you want to be on Jeopardy in the first place?
At the time I went on Jeopardy for the first time, I was 29 years old. I was kind of in the middle of a weird midlife crisis because I was in computers and I didn't like my job. And, instead of buying a sports car or whatever most people do, I went on a game show. And
well, when I have a midlife crisis, it'll probably involve a private jet circling the globe, visiting the world's greatest museums. Oh, the joy.
Well, the thing they say about you can take all the joy out of something by starting to do it for your livelihood.
In that case, I hope I don't have a midlife crisis.
Yeah, and really my crisis right now is just like...
What is? Did I miss something?
Treat when it was new. Like my first book was so much fun to write, and the first podcasts were so much fun to record. And then it becomes homework like anything else. Then it's got a deadline, and you just have to keep doing it. And it's the same fun thing, but for some reason your brain is like, oh, no, this again?
Okay, let me see if I understand you correctly. Like Jeopardy when you first got on there, your book, your podcasts, they were all fun at first, but now that the repetition has set in, it's not quite as fun.
And I don't know if everybody can do this, but to be aware of the existence of your factor ability before you can actually produce it.
Ken, before we get too lost into factor ability, I want to mention the driver that's starting from last place today had quite an afternoon in town yesterday, and she missed qualifying because of that. The driver is Jasmine Golden Girl Sato and drives the white and gold Nissan GTR. While in town shopping, she was involved in a carjacking by a guy running from police from a robbery. She spent the afternoon in the police station giving statements. The robbery suspect was caught a few blocks later when the car that he stole hit another vehicle and became impaled on a light pole. It injured the robber and 2 people in the other vehicle. Hopefully she can get her head into the race since this is her very first GT3 race in this international series. That was the news footage from the incident in last night's news.
Like, I get annoyed when I hear people who have succeeded improbably in a field tell you to follow your dreams.
But she is following her dreams. I talked to her on Media Day. She's passionate about competing with the men in this sport. She wants to show that she can earn the honor of racing at the highest levels like this.
Thank goodness.
With the race minutes away from starting, I wanted to bring up a story of the current pole sitter, Wolfram Ross, and the second place qualifier, Jakob Roberts. They grew up friends in Munich, Germany since they were 6 years old. I think we have a clip of those little guys going around the track back then. Obviously very competitive. Flash forward to today, this is their first race against each other since high school. Jakob earned more trophies because he raced more and traveled Europe to gain more experience against other drivers and the full range of circuits, where Wolfram preferred tracks he knew well so he could master them. Plus, he went off to college and he was away from racing for a few years. Here they are back on the track together, and Wolfram nicked pole position from Jakob by 3/100ths of a second. Their competitive nature and friendship is still strong. The race for the lead, and ultimately, I suspect the checkered flag will be sensational.
Like, I now have this incredibly zen feeling of, hey, it actually does not matter if I remember that story.
Oh, I'm sure you'll want to remember that story when one or both of them are on the podium at the end of the race. Here is the race's starting grid for today. Wolfram Rose Ross of Germany is on the pole, Jakob Red Roberts of Germany, Jose Black Barbosa of Mexico, Paulo Panda Pareto of Italy, Sam Sky Simpson of the United States, Desiderio Dark Delgado of Brazil, Nicky Knight Norris of the UK, Damian Bruiser Neri of Argentina. I met his father, he's a submariner, very interesting guy. Mauricio Gandalf Gomez of Spain, Jordan Gray Brown of the United States, Francois Lemon Laurent of France, John the Shoe Smith of the United States, Blythe Bluebell of the United Kingdom, Antonio Nero Bruno of Italy, and Jasmine Golden Girl Sato of Japan, who was involved in that carjacking incident. In the GT World Challenge, they use a rolling start, so the cars are lined up before the starting line based on the order they qualify in. They'll all be going 43 miles an hour while they wait the green lights to indicate the start of the race. And we are waiting for the lights to go green. And the lights are green. The GT World Challenge race at Circuit of Spa Francorchamps is underway. Here they come up the hill into the Eau Rouge corners. What was that? Did I just see the leaders skid off the track? Please don't tell me that was both Ross and Robertson in the altercation. Not to sound too selfish, but I have so many stories prepared of these two. That's the unpredictability of racing for you.
It's a terrible thing.
And there are radio reports that both of them are okay. Richard Payne is preparing some replays for us. Here we can see Nicky Knight Norris lining up Delgado for a pass into the Lake Holmes corner at the end of the Camel Straight. Ow! Ugh, it's static. Here's the replay slowed down to half speed. Just as Ross and Roberts get to the Eau Rouge corners, you can see Ross dart left. Must have been when he sneezed. Really? Richard? Why don't you just make it into a full-blown cartoon? I'm not sure my coworker has a heart at all. Maybe it's his mind that's missing, I'm not sure.
Not having kids who need a good dad anymore because they're aging into adolescence.
Your perceptions are odd for a race analyst, Ken. As Brown in the McLaren gets a little wide in turn 10, it opens up the opportunity for both Sato and Laurent to slip by on the inside. You can see the big sweeping corners present in this part of the track, and sweeping is what it looks like Laurent is doing with the rear of his car. No, please don't let him hit the rest of the pack. Oh, just a little brush off the inside wall. Quite a scare for the others, I'm sure. It looks like it might have been too big of a distraction for the Shoe Smith as he grinds into the back of Brown's gray car at Stavelot. Bruno in the black and purple BMW is looking to take the place away from Bluebell down the back straight. Into turn 16 on the inside, he almost has him. With the inside line into the next turn, surely he'll take control of 9th place.
As far back as I can remember, I was a huge game show nerd. I never had a guidance counselor think that was a career.
So you didn't always want to be a race analyst?
No, I don't think so. You know, we're all good at remembering stuff, but trivia people are unique in that they are just so interested in everything that everything sticks in their heads.
My wife is annoyed at how trivial stuff sticks in my head, but important things seem to vanish. I believe my wedding anniversary is coming up pretty soon.
If you're not remembering stuff, it's because you don't care.
As we watch the leader Barbosa, you can see his lead ahead of Sky Simpson. Head up into Eau Rouge. Oh, he's into the wall. Snap. That will do some permanent damage to tire rods, control arms, steering, radiators. Oh, look at him as he drives down the straight. His steering wheel is 90 degrees off center. I don't think he'll pass the pit area and collect his $200 for pass and go. In this replay, we will see Norris doing approximately the same thing Barbosa did, but with the rear of his car. For viewers, this series of turns is quite difficult. As you come up the hill, the suspension compresses. As you crest the top of the hill, you lose the extra grip, and if you didn't account for it with less speed or more steering angle, you can become a spectator in your own crash. I haven't given Golden Girl Sato much credit, but there looks to be a fair amount of bumping and grinding going on between Sato and Neri and the gray and blue Aston Martin as they round Rivage and head down the hill. Turn 9's a good place to catch a driver out of place who came out of Rivage a little squirrely. Looks like Sato will do that and waltz her way into 5th place. Impressive. Well, more static. There we go. Now we watch Brown setting his sights on the stricken car of Norris. Let's see if the rear end is able to handle corners or if we should expect to see him in pit row. I'm going with the pit row for the Lexus of Norris as Brown easily swoops past him. With the cameras back on Golden Girl Sato, you can see how quickly she's pulling away from Neri. Gomez ahead in the gray Porsche has to be nervous seeing the GTR and his mirrors gaining in size. What is that smell? It's like something electric is burning.
Don't put the fork in the toaster.
You didn't, did you? Are you trying to burn this place down?
But that is absolutely true.
Well, butter my butt and call me a biscuit. Let me unplug it before we look like Freddy Krueger. There, the toaster's unplugged. Like your microwave, metal objects should not be placed into the toaster.
I'm out of a job.
You are not out of a job. Watch the race and interject when you have something beneficial to say. Speaking of beneficial, Barbosa is heading into the pit area for some needed repairs on the black, green, and red Audi. Maybe we can get an update from Sarah Peterman on his progress. Right behind him is the Lexus of Norris. His damage doesn't appear to be too bad, but they will be out of the competition for the podium for sure. I can't touch anything around here. Look at the speed Sato has coming out of Radeon. Gomez is no match for Golden Girl, as we've begun to know her as Wonder Woman. She's going to be on the podium if Delgado doesn't be careful. A bit further back, we see Brown in the gray McLaren giving Lemon Laurent a downgrade on the leaderboard.
I think you're also just seeing whoever's mojo is just kind of locked into the right rhythm.
Yes, and in the front we can see Pareto is tinkling the pavement of our leader Sky Simpson. Now a word from today's sponsor. From the inventor of Diet Water and Camel Golf Balls comes the invention you never knew you always wanted. Tired of your pets always wanting to be petted? Introducing the Pet Petter. Now you'll never need to touch your pets ever again. Whether you have 1, 2, or 20 cats and dogs, soon they'll all forget who you were with the Pet Petter. Nuclear powered and Bluetooth controlled means the Pet Petter will pet your pets for as long as they're alive, and maybe after. Scratch behind the ears or pat on the head, the Pet Petter is better than you'll ever be for giving your pets attention they deserve. Order details in the description below. Operators are standing by. Order now.
Yeah, give me 30 seconds. I can mop that up.
There's nothing to mop up.
Steve, I want to report that the damage to Norris's car was fairly minor. With new tires, he's heading back on the track.
I doubt he can get back onto the lead lap, but he will be ahead of any of the others that can't finish the race. Thank you, Sarah. Back to the track action where we see Golden Girl Sato making a move on Delgado. She is so close to the back of the gray Ferrari. Here she goes diving in and inside at bus stop chicane. However, she couldn't scrub off enough speed to navigate that turn. So close. Hopefully she can stay away from Gomez behind her after that gaffe. Just behind that group is Bruno looking to make a move on 6th place in the black and blue Aston Martin of Bruiser Neri. This battle's been brewing for a while now. Man, are they flying down that front straight. Let's hope they can keep it together going up Eau Rouge. I smell a pass as they blast down the Kemmel straight. Wow. Oh, remind me to stop touching things. Well, I thought Bruno might lose control as he swung out to make the pass.
He has the cool head for that.
Race control may want to have a look at Neri after going a little deep into turn 6. We will keep you informed. Pando Pareto has his Mercedes locked onto Simpson's rear. Oh, wait, that sounded weird, sorry.
My childhood love of maps and geography. I wrote a book called Maphead about people with weird geographic quirks and hobbies.
What is that on Pareto's dash?
Yeah,
Some of these sponsors have silly requirements for their dollars. Please comment below if you know who that sponsor might be.
but maybe you're right. Maybe it's me as a kid talking to a kid as a kid.
It certainly looks childish if you ask me. I know the teams and drivers need sponsors, and the bigger the sponsor deals, the more money they have to develop the car, hire better engineers, replace parts with lighter parts. But if they have to stoop to this, frankly, I'm a little perturbed.
And it lowers the chances of big catastrophes.
I suppose so. Surely Pareto can speak his mind if he doesn't want something that distracting on the dash.
Is there a way to compare it? Can I change the size scale to make the metaphor more eye-popping?
Pareto caught too much of the inside curb into turn 18 and lost control of the car. Oh no. He's back on track, but hitting the wall at 150 miles an hour is to do some serious damage. I wonder if it's enough for him to dive into the pit area or if he's going to continue on. Looks like he's going to continue as he stays ahead of Delgado and Sato for now, but it looks like Golden Girl Sato may be ready to take third place away. Let's see if she can make the move into Lesor's corner. She's taking the wide line to try for more speed into the corner and hopefully more on the way out too, but looks like the tires on Dark Delgado's car are brave enough to keep a tight line through there. She's going to need a lap to regain that time that she just lost there.
Nothing but reflexes.
Further back, we can see that the shoe smith is attempting to untie the 10th place shoes of Lemon Laurent. And ironically, he does, as Laurent can't make the turn into the bus stop chicane. I'm not sure the race stewards like drivers shortcutting the turn, but that's their burden, not mine. Looks like a drag strip down the finish straight here in front of us. Laurent can't quite pull off the outside-in strategy, and Smith is into 10th place.
Steve, it looks like they have most of Barbosa's car put back together. He may make it back onto the track to show his pride for finishing every race.
I'm glad he takes pride in finishing. Thank you, Sarah. Please don't let them lose control up the hill. Oh, oof. Our producer, Ian Gill, would like for us to introduce a segment to respond to important comments from Twitter, so here goes. Here we can see the tweet from Bearded Twinkle. It offends me when you don't have more gay drivers.
The high jumpers, the badminton players, they were all just basically trying it for the first time on national TV.
Back to the Twitter comment. Unless a driver brings it up on media day, we don't know a driver's sexual preference. It's not like it's a qualification for the race.
To not want to try things out.
I think this is where you're going with that comment. Be my guest to ask that at the next press conference. And a tweet from Spaghetti Monster. My pasta-loving friends should have a helmet made to look like a pasta strainer.
Spaghetti Monster 69 has this all figured out.
Thank you, Spaghetti Monster 69, for your comment. However, making a helmet from a pasta strainer sounds like a complex ordeal. Likely won't have the safety features required by Regulation FIA 8860. I would recommend they purchase an existing helmet that's already passed the safety regulation testing.
That is not sad at all.
In the background, I just saw Pareto peel off into the pits. You hate to see that happen when he was so close to the lead for so long in this race.
That guy wouldn't last on Jeopardy for 10 minutes.
I'm going to have to officially say that was rude and overly judgmental. Why do you have to compare him to Jeopardy?
Yeah, as you say, there are other explanations. So there are some culture wars that you wouldn't care about if you weren't a trivia person, but which I just find fascinating.
Which culture wars would our audience be interested in?
I would say the general rule is, if I learn something once and I find it interesting, I think it's more likely to stick. But again, I think that's near universal. You know, somebody who thinks they have a unremarkable memory, or a kid who can't learn their times tables, they still know every word of every song on their favorite album, and they know every player on the roster of their favorite team. The memory is working just fine when engaged.
That's less of a, quote, culture war and more of something we should explore. Oh, that's tragic to hear. It's the engineers who calculate how much fuel to put in the car at the beginning of the race. A pit stop on this track is a death blow for track time, but you do finish the race, I guess.
So I think people mistakenly think they have a bad memory. They mistakenly think things are boring. It just hasn't quite been explained to them. You know, stuff we think is dangerous because we heard it once. Apple seeds are dangerous. Don't drop a coin off a balcony, that can go right through somebody's head.
I'm going to say we're headed for the shallow end of the pool now, not the deep end.
But it's astounding. There have been hundreds of studies trying to relate sugar intake with hyperactivity in children, and nobody can do it. Like, there appears to be no relationship at all between whether your kid has had sugar and how nuts they are. And no parent will believe this, but it is apparently true.
Now you're trying to pick a fight. I don't even know my kids after they eat sugar. They become little monsters and lose any sense of rational decision making.
The sugar rush is not real. And there is, like, peer-reviewed research on a lot of this stuff.
Arthig Nugan. What in the world of all that is sane is that doing on our screen? What show is that? Comment below if you know. Ugh, probably the work of Richard Payne again. Sato is so close to Delgado, but with 3 turns left in the race, I'm not sure she's going to be able to get second place. Our race leader, Sam Sky Simpson, is rounding the last few corners, and he has led since the second lap. As he accelerates out of the last turn and heads towards the finish line, here is our race winner, Sam Simpson. You can't be serious. 2 drivers might run out of gas before the end of the race. They have the same engineers. Goodness gracious, don't let him stop on the track. I understand we're watching Neri because something happened to him. Yes, that something is melting into the ground, or perhaps he dove underneath the surface like his submarine or dad does. Look at that steering angle he's using. His tires must be rubbish. He'll probably turn up in a rain runoff. Let's hope. And Lemon Laurent's race continues below, I'd guess, 4,000 RPM. He might make it. The shoesmith stopped on the track. Urban's probably going to foul his engine, but he might finish the race. This is like watching a sloth race sped up, but not nearly enough. Ooh, before I forget, I always ask my race analyst a word from a dictionary and see if he knows its definition. You probably will since you're the Jeopardy goat. Do you know what a lyricon is?
Mythology and religion and TV and everything. Theme park rides, comic books.
No, it's an electronic wind instrument like a large obverse flute.
The amazing and explicative power of science has improved our lives in a bajillion ways.
Do you really think that way?
What are the values that are most important, and like, how can we make sure we have those? And it really is always just variants on be happy, be nice.
Lemon Laurent is easing past Smith. There's the finish line, and neither made it. What a shame. On podium today is first place Sam Sky Simpson of the United States, second place Decidio Dark Delgado of Brazil, and the impressive drive from last to third place Jasmine Golden Girl Sato of Japan. Congratulations to them, and especially our driver of the day, Golden Girl Sato. This concludes our broadcast for today. Ken, thank you for filling in for my absent coworker. Have you enjoyed your time?
In general, people have been very nice.
We have seen some brilliant driving today. These drivers have amazing focus. There's a couple exceptions like the wobbly save by Lawrence on lap 1.
If somebody's like this, it's very likely that they were like this when they were 3 or 4.
Yes, those little tykes driving go-karts with the helmets that look like they weigh nearly as much as they do. Any last words for the audience?
Don't neglect the thing about you that makes you weird.
We're all a bit weird in our own way. Embrace it. As a final thought, I'd like to share this with the audience. We don't meet people by accident. They're meant to cross our path for a reason. Which culture wars word are? That doesn't make sense. In the background, I just saw Pareto peel off into the pits. Say that 3 times fast.